What up, meatheads? This is Travis, American Butcher, and this is the Meat Block Podcast. This is the weekly podcast about the meat industry. It wavers from week to week, and this week I'm very excited that we have Rod Slater back on the show. Rod Slater is a master butcher. He is the CEO of New Zealand Beef and Lamb, and he is also the president of the WBC, the World Butcher Challenge. He is a true community organizer. He is genuinely a nice guy, and everything he does is to promote our industry in a positive light. He was on the show back in episode 14. That is 40 episodes ago. I know, crazy. Talking about his life in the WBC and what made that kid growing up in a butcher shop with sawdust on the floor to running the biggest butcher competition in the world. And if you're listening to this and you don't know what the WBC is, it is the Olympics of our industry. And I go in full detail about it in episode 14. And with it right around the corner, I wanted to have Rod back on the show to talk about preparations, final details, and more about the event. So please enjoy this episode with Rod Slater.
Good cutting enhances the quality of good meat. In his way, the meat cutter is an artist. Poor cutting results in an inferior piece of meat, regardless of quality.
What preparations are you doing right now for the event? What final preparations are going on?
Okay, well, most of all the hard work has been done, and as you would hope by this stage, which is about, 15 days out, 16 days out, and the great work by our hosts in Ireland. You know, it's really just down to sort of minor detail. All the preparation that we have done, all those boxes have been ticked off. Over the weekend, and as much as this is the first time we've had 12 teams. Yeah. And in the past, we've just had winner, end of story. We are going to award gold, silver, and bronze positions. So that created a bit of organisation and last minute trying to get medals made and stuff like that. But just little things like that. But in the main, it's just, and let's not forget we're at the other end of the world. So there's not much more we can do until we get there around about the 14th of March. 14th of March.
Yeah. And then just to cover for our listeners, what is the competition itself? So we have 12 teams. What do these teams have to achieve, and what time frame is there?
Well, they've got 3 hours and 15 minutes from the time the gun goes. It's a team of 6 butchers. Behind them on a rail will be hanging a side of beef, 120 side, a side of pork, a whole lamb, and five chickens. So they're there in their basic form, and they've got 3 hours and 15 minutes to break down, slice, prepare, and turn into table-ready cuts, and suitably on display, so the consumers could walk through past the cabinet and purchase them.
And then, what were the requirements for teams themselves besides 6 people? Did they have to pass anything or be approved, or if they don't have the skills, then that'll just be embarrassing, I guess.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it's up to each country to decide who their team of 6 is going to be. But each entry has to be supported by either a national organization that is recognised or acceptable to the World Butchers Council. Now, that's what's actually taking place at this stage. So whether it be a national organisation or just a local organisation, it has to be some form of tangible organisation that is recognisable by our council.
Any idea where the event will be held next?
Well, what we are doing now is every 2 years we're going to have the event. It started off being yearly, but because it's become so big, we've made it every 2 years. So the next event is in 2020, and the rules now state that it has to be in no sooner than 18 months prior to the March Belfast event, and no later than 2.5 years. So at this point in time, we've got at the moment Sacramento in the US, but on top of that, we've got 4 other countries that are bidding. So they are France, Brazil, Greece, and I think from memory Germany. So they'll all be tabled at a conference, a council meeting in Belfast.
Mm-hmm.
Our original intention was to make that decision in March, but I think what we're more likely to do now is just accept the nominations and then perhaps delay 3 months while we further investigate. Because it's becoming such a big event, we have to satisfy ourselves that the organisers do indeed have the tools or the infrastructure to be able to conduct the event.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what is the audience expectation? How big or how many people are expected to attend?
Well, it's being held at the Titanic Centre in Belfast, which is, I haven't been there, but it's a very large exhibition centre. And it's also in conjunction with the food fair there. So really, you could almost say how long is a piece of string? How many people are we going to get? But if I go back to the event, the last event, which we held in the Gold Coast, Australia, I think on the day there may have been 300 or 400, 500 people there.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, we could beat that by 10 times this time.
Oh.
Certainly the centre is big enough to cater for a large audience. You just don't know. But we've got 12 teams, so there's probably 10 supporters with each one of those teams. So there's 120 people before we even start,
Yeah.
So it will be significant. Plus, live on Facebook. I think you probably know this. It'll be live on Facebook for the entire 3 hours, 15 minutes. So people will come in and imagine.
What is happening with the WBC that's not just a competition? I know there was a dinner, and is there anything that people attending could expect to see?
Yes. Yeah, there's significant. It all starts off on, and I'm only plucking these dates out of my head, but I think on the 16th. No, it's earlier than that. It all starts on about 13th with what we're calling a 5-day study tour. So that's right across Ireland. Our host taking us to various meat operations, whether they be retail, production, that sort of thing. So that's a preliminary to the contest itself. In the context test itself, or after it, there's a formal dinner on the last day, and that's where the prize giving takes place and all that sort of thing. In between, welcome by the Lord Mayor of Belfast. So the city of Belfast has really adopted this competition and going to it all guns blazing, so to speak.
Okay, and then. My last question, because I know you're busy, is what advice do you have for the teams that are competing this year?
Well, I think first and foremost, enjoy the moment, and secondly, learn from what everybody else is doing. When it's all finished, of course, it's nice to win, but this is all about our wonderful trade of butchery. Mm-hmm. And the more we share ideas and learn what other countries, every country will bring something to the table that you will think is wonderful. It doesn't matter which country it is. And I think enjoy, give it your best, and let's see what happens. I know for some of these teams, they may never have competed in something before, so it's all foreign. So, but last time we had France as a newcomer, and they took out the title. So you just don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And then before you go, I just want to say. I think it would be perfect in Sacramento. That's where my parents live. So there.
Yeah, well, that's actually my first choice too, but I'm only one person, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right. And it's exciting, and I can't wait to see what happens. And thank you so much for scheduling some time for me.
My pleasure, Travis. Happy to do it anytime.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right. Cheers. Bye.
raining worse than anything that I have ever seen. I drank 10 pints of beer and I cursed all the people there. I wish that all this rain would stop falling down on me. And it's lending me £10, I'll buy you a drink, and mother wake me early in the morning. At the time I was working for a landlord, and he was the meanest bastard that you have ever seen. And to lose a single penny would grieve him awful sore. And he was a miserable bollocks and a bitch's bastard's whore. And it's
I know Rod was cutting in and out at some point, but that's what you get when you do audio FaceTime from across the world. And we are not an audio quality show. We are content quality show. And I thoroughly hope you enjoyed it. The WBC, all their information will be in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please tell a friend. And please like us on iTunes and leave a 5-star review. If you want to get a hold of the show, you could email us, themeatblockpodcast@gmail.com, tweet us at themeatblockpod, or Instagram at themeatblock. If you want to get a hold of me, Travis, I am at American Butcher on Instagram and Facebook. And I hope you enjoyed this bonus episode. It was a fun one. Until next time, keep your knives sharp and live in the margins.
lend me £10, I'll buy you a drink, and mother wake me early in the morning. That boys and me are drunk and looking for you. We'll eat your friggin' entrails and we won't give a damn. Me daddy was a bloodshed and my mother a madame. My brother earned his medals at my late Vietnam. And it's lend me £10, I'll buy you a drink, and mother wake me early in the morning. And the first day of March it was raining. It was raining worse than anything that I had ever seen. Stay on the other side of the road, cause you can never tell. We're a dressed like a gang of devils, we're the boys in the county hell. And it's lend me £10, I'll buy you a drink, and mother wake me early in the morning. And it's lend me £10, I'll